Number one, it's called due process. Now that might not mean anything just by the sound of it, but here's what it means emotionally. Due process means if I, as a leader, am going to change something that's going to affect people, I have to do two things. One, I have to give them notice of the change, and two, a right to a hearing. Now, what does that mean? That means if I'm going to add a new policy, here's an interesting new policy. Policy could be this. Teachers are not allowed to babysit for families in the program. Now, some people might be saying, how can that be? My teachers need to have two jobs. They need the money, and not only that, the center family or the program families know the teachers and they trust them. But guess what the other problem is? The problem is if one of my teachers babysits for a family member, and God forbid the teacher molests a child, that family member, even though they hired my teacher, they can now sue me because I represented to them that that teacher was a professional. So there's a challenge. Now, due process, how does that come in? Number one, I'm going to tell my teachers that this is a policy that we're strongly considering. That's notice. Number two, I'm going to give them the right to a hearing. What that means is nobody can say to me, Holly, Elissa, you never gave me a chance to say what I thought. You never listened to me. So what I'm going to say is, look, we're going to have a staff meeting. I know this is controversial. Let's just get everything out in the open. How do you feel about this? And people are going to say, how can I earn money if I can't babysit? And somebody else is going to say, you know what? When you babysit for the Russos, Anthony Russo expects you to treat him specially because he knows you so much better. He wants to sit in your lap all the time. I think that's a problem. So the truth is, in due process, people are going to be informed about what's going to change. And number two, they're going to have a chance to speak about it. And then they're going to buy into it because they've had a chance to speak. And if push comes to shove and they don't buy into it, I recommend, and what I do is I'm really clear with people. Some decisions are mine, some decisions are ours, and some decisions are yours. Talking about this issue, that's ours. We can do that. But the buck stops with me. I've got to make the decision. I want to protect the program legally, and so that's what I'm going to do. So due process is a key one. A second one, I love Head Start saying, you might have heard it, if it isn't in writing, if it isn't documented, it didn't happen. And that's the truth. Courts look at us and they say, what's your documentation? What can you tell me what happened on a certain day? It just has to be in writing. You don't have to be Shakespeare. You just have to put it in writing. And courts see something, see a policy in writing, or they see documentation and they say, that director was stepping back, getting perspective, thinking about things, and documenting it. Now we go back to due process. Supposing I am taking a staff member through progressive discipline. She shows up late 3 days in a row. I call her in and I say, Jasmine, when you came in at 6:15 yesterday morning, no, I'm sorry, you came in at 6:45 yesterday morning. Today you came in at 8 o'clock. That's inappropriate. I say that to her. That gives her due process. And at the same time, I'm working with her on how she can correct that action. But here is the truth. All along, I'm writing down everything. I'm writing down when we met. I'm writing down the facts about when she was not there on time. I'm writing down what I say to her. I'm giving her a chance at the bottom to make a statement about her comments on our meeting. I'm also inviting her to sign that she was at this meeting and that she got this information. And if I'm lucky enough to have somebody else to work with, as a third party, I'm having a witness there to sign it too. And by the way, I love when it works this way. Sometimes people get so upset when they're going through progressive discipline that they lose their sense of perspective and refuse to sign that they've been at this meeting. When that happens, I just say, you know what, if you don't want to sign, that's okay, but you seem to have a lot of strong opinions here. Why don't you just take the space where it says employees' comments and write whatever you want to, and guess what? She'll write away about how awful this was, and she has demonstrated or evidence just by writing that she was at the meeting. So I would say due process in all things leads to ownership and gives people a chance to change their behavior when they need to. And secondly, putting it in writing creates a documentation of everything that's happened. And it doesn't have to be long. It just is the who, what, the what. It's not the why. It's the who, the what, the where, and the when. And leave the why out of it, okay? And those two principles, I think if directors practice those, are going to keep coming up roses. They're going to keep offering help to directors time and time again.
Due process, giving notice, and giving a hearing should be applied when policies and procedures are instituted or changed. Are you comfortable with the level and consistency of documentation maintained in your program? If not, what areas need improvement? In addition to personnel policies and procedures, programs need financial management policies and procedures. Next, Beth Parr reflects on this aspect of program management.
I would say that the most critical aspect of financial management is the policies and procedures you develop that guide all the things that you do that relate to the financial well-being of your center. If you do not have firm policies in place, you will not make good decisions, you will not have accurate records, and you will not be able to be accountable in the way that you need to be to your staff, to your children, to the parents, and if you have a board. Policies and procedures should come out of the goals that you have for your center. That will determine what you spend your money on, what is important in terms of budgeting. It will determine what you need in order to raise the money you need for specific programs, specific activities that you want children to be a part of.
Not only is it important to develop financial management policies and procedures, they need to be reviewed and updated periodically. When were your financial management policies and procedures last updated? Who reviewed them? Did you have assistance from an external source with expertise in financial management?